Okay.
Okay, so we're going live, Allan.
Okay.
So there we go. We are live on Facebook.
Okay.
They're all sending messages asking where they can watch it. So we've just gone live. Let me just get it ready on Facebook.
We're seeing now a delayed.
So what will happen, Allan, is that there will be a little bit of a delay when you see it on the Facebook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I would recommend is opening it on your phone, clicking on the actual video, and then you'll be able to see all the comments. And then just turn your phone volume on
mute. A delayed.
So what will happen, Allan, is that there will be
Where's the mute button?
just turn your phone volume down on the side.
Okay. All right. Got it. Yeah.
Just give me a second.
Hej Lene, hej Andra. Marie Pilgaard fra Satan. That was Danish swear
Yes,
word.
I know. I know for Satan. For Satan. So we'll just wait a couple of seconds for some more people to join. There's about 20 odd there. I see Vivica is on. Hey Vivica, Anna, Claudia.
Claudia, yeah. Oh, Cecilia, California. Sasha.
Nina, Yuri.
Agate.
So for everybody tuning in, we just wait a couple, maybe a minute or two for some people that were late like us, but you know, late with style is our motto.
I normally don't wait for anybody.
But yeah, hope you guys are ready. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to put it on the live feed and we'll do our best to ask Allan. We have a lot of juicy stuff on the program or the itinerary. Hopefully we get through it all.
Melanie, Mama is there. Natasha. Wow, the East Coast, they're up early.
Yeah, they put this in their diary.
Yeah. Michael
Chapman, what's up, Michael? All right, guys. Well, I think we can get cracking. There's about 45 people on, so I think that's a nice little start. On a personal note, I just want to say welcome to Allan. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I don't know Allan that well, to be honest with you. Of course, I know a lot about him. Well, I think I do. And I've watched a lot of his dancing and been inspired, and obviously seen him at many competitions. Had a lesson with him, actually, which I'll talk about at some point, actually, when we met in the States. But yeah, it's just an honor and a privilege to get this opportunity to get to know him a little bit better, completely off the dance floor and in much more casual and, let's call it, normal surroundings. So I'm excited about that. As everybody might have seen before, you know, with Hans and Lena and Greg and Klaus and Colin and whatnot, this is very casual. But casual doesn't mean it's there's no meat or depth or anything to it. Casual just means to me that we're having a normal conversation like two human beings would, you know, with no pretenses and no fluff and frills and formalness, you know, which is not what I enjoy. So yeah, thank you, Allan, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Not so busy these days, though.
So yes, and thanks for everybody for tuning in. And like I say, Allan's up for it. So any questions you guys might have, it's interesting. I received a lot of questions by direct message. So it's very good, and I'm thankful that everybody's participating. So you know, keep them coming. And of course, if you prefer, you could message me, and it can be anonymous. There's no problem with that as well. So yeah, I'm sure Allan's okay with that too, right?
Sure.
So let's start from the beginning. What's your current situation, Allan? Where are you? What have you been doing? How have you been affected?
Right now, I'm in my apartment in New York, and have been here in my apartment since March 11. And as you all know, New York is hardly hit by the virus, and we have a stay-home advisory. We are advised not to go out. So I only go out for essential shopping, grocery shopping, actually. So I try to keep that to once a week, max. And apart from that, I actually stay in my apartment the entire time.
And I mean, there's lots of people watching all over the world. Some know you really well, some don't know you at all, some just have seen you in a video maybe. So tell people, who is Allan Tornsberg?
It's always difficult, isn't it, to talk about who am I. I think I'm a very passionate person, and have a little bit of a temper, but I'm a person who tries to stay true to myself and be as honest and real as I possibly can be. I try to, one of my biggest, how can I say, passions is to grow as a person, and I constantly search to grow myself, to improve myself, to be a better person, a better version of myself every day. I have a very competitive personality, and I think my biggest competitor is myself. So in that, I always try to become a better version of myself, try to look at where is there room for improvement. And that actually, it's tough sometimes, you know, it's hard work, especially in the beginning, maybe not as much because they're easier change to make, but eventually it becomes harder and harder to look at the demons in yourself and try to better it. So yeah, that's in short, I think, what I can just come up with straight away when you say, who am I?
So Allan, like, how do you think people see you from the outside?
I think definitely people would say that I am very honest, very real, very authentic. Sometimes maybe too much. You know, sometimes the truth hurts. And I have no filter. And that can be a bonus sometimes, but it can definitely also be tough sometimes. I think I'm loving and caring. I think the people closest to me, they feel that. Also, the people closest to me know that or think that I'm quite generous, I think. So, but it's difficult to answer that question.
So, Allan, tell me a little bit about your childhood. So, obviously, you're Danish. Where exactly you're from in Denmark? What was your family life like? Your childhood? What did your parents do?
I grew up in Denmark in a very small town north of Copenhagen. I'm a country boy. My grandparents had a farm where they built a house right next to the farm for my parents. And that's where I was actually born. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 3. So I don't really have any memories of my dad. And I didn't stay in contact with, or we didn't stay in contact at all. So then when I was about 8, my mom remarried, and I got a stepdad. And for me, he has been my dad ever since. And around that time, I also started dancing in the local dance school. In Northern Europe, I think it's quite normal, as we heard before, also Hans was talking about that we, it's kind of a custom that you go to dance schools when you're young, and just to get discipline, or it's like a normal fact of life that you send your kids to dance school. In the 70s, it's maybe changed a little bit now, but at that time it was quite normal. So I started dancing when I was 8, and in a very nice dance school actually, and this quickly evolved to that I was dancing almost every day. And actually, I loved the dancing, but just as much, I felt I belonged there. School has never been my thing. Didn't really interest me that much. And the friends, my real friends, I found in the dance school. So I really felt there was something that I was good at, and B, the friends there was like real friends. And that really kept my enthusiasm through the coming 10 years. In school, I was also teased quite a lot, I remember, from being feminine, and it's amazing how quickly children can point fingers out at each other, you know. And but at the same time, they also realized that I stood up for myself, and I was not easy to knock down. And funnily enough, when you got the bullying like that, people quickly find out, okay, we can't get to him. So it eased off. But I remember actually I was pretty petrified to go to the corridor where the higher classes was, because I was sure they were going to kill me. So it's quite interesting to look back and see there was a lot of trauma going on there in the early age, that I was actually afraid to be totally myself. And in the dance school, I felt the difference there. There I could be totally myself.
So, Allan, you mentioned that you said that I guess you're saying in a way you were bullied, right? Or so, and you know, maybe being feminine and stuff. So, when did you actually realize that you were gay?
It's difficult to say, because it's something that happens gradually and over a time, I think. You start to realize that you're different already before puberty. But I would say I came out the closet when I was 21. Mm-hmm. But I think by then I already knew what was up. Mm-hmm. So to give you a direct or exact age when it became clear to me, maybe 16, 17, 18, around there.
And tell us a little bit about your dance journey. So you mentioned how you started at the time when your mom got together with your stepdad. How did your dancing evolve from something just at the dance school to something more serious, more major, and eventually a very successful career?
Well, I think it's important to mention that, number one, my parents weren't that, how can I say, interested or involved in my dancing. They truly enjoyed that I was so engaged in the dancing, and they thought it was a healthy hobby for me. I always had to pay my dancing myself. Of course, when I was younger, not, but as I got older, I took small jobs to pay for it myself. So I was pretty self-efficient right from the beginning. But when it came to dance competitions every weekend and stuff, my parents didn't come and watch. I was on my own. And I actually liked that. I liked that I didn't have my parents on my neck. And I saw how the other parents from the other kids was very enthusiastic and very ambitious. And I remember I praised myself thinking, God, that's really cool that I don't have that. I could be on my own. So I think that was a big element into keeping my enthusiasm, because it kept me hungry that way. I wasn't pushed at all. That, together with, like I mentioned before, the friendship, was actually what really kept me in the dancing. I think it was around 18, 19 that I started to think, okay, now I really want to take this more serious. And I started to dream about moving to London. At the same time, I started my education as a hairdresser, and that took 4 years. And I was very fortunate because my boss in Denmark, she was also very enthusiastic for the fact that I was dancing. So she actually let me go 4 weeks early before I got finished the education to enter Blackpool when I was 21. So that was my first Blackpool. From 18 to 21, I had different partners. I had the same partner from 8 to 18 for 10 years. And then I was kind of changing partners in those 3 years. Until then, I actually went to the international. I had a good friend of mine in Denmark who was friends with Vivica, and she suggested that I came to London for a tryout because Vivica was looking for a partner. So I went to the international, and I met up with Vivica, and we arranged for a tryout there. And actually, that was quite funny because there was some mixed opinions about whether we should dance together or not. Of course, Vivica was much better than me at that time. She was already ranked 3rd in Denmark. I was at the bottom of the semi-final. But I thought very highly of myself, and made sure that she knew that I believed I was going to be a world champion. It was not a question. It was just a question whether it was going to be with her or with somebody else. And I think she was actually quite attracted to that confidence. But we had some tryouts with different people. And I remember Bob Burgess at that time, Bob Burgess and Doreen Freeman. We were down at the Grafton Ballroom in London, and Bob pulled Vivica to side and said, "You're not considering to dance with this lunatic, are you?" And he strongly advised her not to dance with me. And I remember we also had a tryout lesson with Colin and Lena, and I believe it was Lena who said, "Just to let you know, Vivica, Michael Withers is also available." So it was kind of a nice way to say, don't rush into things, you know. So, but we decided to start together because we had an extreme, strong, shared passion for dance. And we shared the same, how can I say, opinion about dance. We were attracted to the same things. And got very excited, and we started off. She moved back to Denmark actually until I finished my education, for 6 months, and we trained in Denmark. Every month we went to Oslo, to Norway, to have lessons with Esben Solberg. And yeah, we trained there, and then we started our first competition at the Danish Championship in '87. And then straight after that, we moved to London and did our first Blackpool in '87.
So you mentioned, Allan, that you had how many partners did you actually have?
Well, the first partner I had for 10 years, and then I switched. I think I had about 3 before I found Vivica. So this was partners that I danced with 1 year to 1.5 years, and so on. So yeah, I was looking back, I was searching for the right partner until I found Vivica.
And then, yeah, sorry, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, some of them I really felt good. I liked to dance with all of these girls, but I just quickly found out that they didn't want to take it as far as I wanted, i.e. moving to London and studying it full time.
So then tell me if I'm wrong. It was Vivica, and it was Carmen, and then it was Serena, and then Vivica, right?
That's right. I danced with Vivica for 9 years or 10 years, from '87 to '96, 9 years. And we did our whole amateur career, and we won the world championship as amateur, and then we turned professional in '93. And then we danced 3 years as professionals. And then we decided to split in '96. And then I started up with Carmen. Vivica started up with Paul Killick. And I remember that year, that was quite a big deal that we split, because at that time, it was unseen that successful partnership would be splitting. I think it was only Andrew and Lorraine at that time who had actually split, who was active, successful partnership. So it was a big deal, and I remember we came to Blackpool with our new partners, and that was a very special Blackpool. Already in the first round in the afternoon, the room was packed. Everybody was curious to see what it would look like with new partners, and it was a fantastic atmosphere. I mean, that was when the wave started to go on. There was waves in the audience, standing ovation already in the afternoon. Even the band was doing the wave with the audience. It was absolutely amazing. It was one of my highlights of my career, that Blackpool, I would say.
So Allan, why did you split with Vivica after 9 years and then end up dancing with her again? How did that work?
Well, I retired in 2001 together with Serena. So when you say dance with Vivica again, I think after I retired, you're right, we did one competition, but it was kind of like that competition was for ourselves. We just wanted to feel that we finished together. So it was just that one competition. I would say after that, it has been more of a companionship, business relationship. Vivica obviously is my soulmate in dancing. That has always been, obviously, she's the first one, the first love, if you want. But for some reason, and it's very difficult to explain, but the best way I can say is my soulmate. So the reason why we split, it caused a big stir. I remember many of my friends were like really upset. I mean, I had Melanie on the phone crying, and what are you doing? Thinking we were crazy. And it was a big decision, but I think we decided that, or we felt we were run dry in the partnership. We found it hard to keep the inspiration going. I think we also thought we could be more successful with other partners. And looking back at it, I find that it's a little strange now to look back at. Maybe now I realize that it wasn't necessary to become more successful to change partners. However, I don't regret a second that we did it, because from that I grew and learned and experienced some things that I would never have experienced would I have stayed with you. But I think we both agreed that we were excited to try and explore new ways, and it was definitely very big experience for both of us, and enhanced our skills and knowledge tremendously to start with new partners.
So Allan, obviously you've had a very successful career. What for you would you say is your biggest accomplishment in your career? And that, as I always tell everyone, is not necessarily a result, but something for yourself.
Oh, it's a huge question, because it's first thing that comes to my mind is there's a whole list of biggest accomplishment, and it really depends on in what direction you take the question. I think one of them obviously was winning the Worlds together with Vivica in the amateurs, because that was my first dream. And to reach that first goalpost is quite extraordinary. And it was actually more of a relief somehow. You prove to yourself, you set a goal and you actually reach it. So that was a huge. Performance-wise, I think it would be the German Open with Carmen. I think it was in '96. Donnie had just come back from retirement, and the evening prior to this competition, we did a team match, and people who saw us at that time would also know that Carmen and I, we had quite a turbulent partnership. It was very passionate, to say the least. Our coach at that time was Lene, and I still feel terrible of what we did to Lene in that time, because she really had to put up with a lot. But I kind of lost it that night at the team match. I just had enough, and I wanted to split. And Lene sat up with me all night trying to persuade me to do another comp the next day. We danced for Germany, and she said it would be absolutely ludicrous if I would split now, and she advised me to dance that one more competition, and then make a decision the day after whether I should split or not. So I agreed, and we danced this competition, and I don't know, something happened, and this is what I say when the stars align and something happens, something unexplainable happened. But I basically decided, okay, I'm going to go out and dance for myself. As you know, I'm very passionate about partnering and man and woman, and I guess the skills of leading and partnering was already worked in the body, so it did not sacrifice the partnering, the fact that I just danced for myself. In fact, it just enhanced the dancing. And then we started to get the crowd, and it was just an amazing night with a connection to the audience that I've never tried to have before. In the end, when we danced the final, we literally couldn't hear the band. That was how loud the audience was. They were throwing things from the balcony, and it was just amazing. That is a night I would never ever forget. Lene told me afterwards, people were coming up to her saying, "What did you give Allan and Carmen to eat? Because I want some of that." So it's just one of those performances where you just, something happens and you can't explain it. And so I would say, performance-wise, the best performance of the biggest experience I had performance-wise was that gym.
Are there any other memorable moments in your career you want to talk about? That was actually a question from Melanie Lepatin. She was asking.
I have so many memories. A big turn for me in my career was when Vivica and I, in the early 90s, started to come to New York. And I think that's probably what also Melanie holds very dear to her heart and what she's thinking of. But we started to come to New York to explore dancing. Wally has given us great insight to where to find the best music, and we quickly discovered that New York had a huge Latin community. And at that time, you literally, to find good music, you literally had to go into the record store and find the music yourself, And we realized that there was many Latin clubs, and we went to explore West Coast swing and all type of Latin dancing. And we formed a friendship with Tony and Melanie at that time, and we stayed with them. And we had some amazing experience together where, one of them, we would be dancing in this little apartment where we all stayed, in Tony Melanie's apartment. They had an old record with Joe Cuba, at that time, a fabulous cha-cha, slow and earthy. Now, Melanie would be in her bra, I would be in my jeans, and we would just dance for hours, and nobody watching, just be in it. And the experience of true dance, I really experienced there. And when I danced with Vivica was quite critical about my lead, to say the least. I always felt I couldn't make her happy. To dance with Melanie was such approval for me as a man. She understood how to make me feel like a man. I don't know whether she truly enjoyed my lead, but I thought she did. And, to see her face lit up and enjoy dancing with me gave me such a belief in myself. So the whole, exploring the whole Latin scene and the music, we go to concert with Tito Puente, Melanie introduced me to that, or Melanie and Tony introduced us to that whole scene, and this was amazing. And to feel that, to gain that confidence in my lead was actually alpha omega in that, because as we all know, a lead is only good when you're really confident. So.
And then on the flip side, Allan, what has been one of your biggest regrets in your career, or your biggest regret, if any?
I don't believe in regrets. I think, like I said before, even when you look back and think, actually, I didn't have to do that, or that was crazy what I did there. I always am very aware of what that gave me and how I grew from that experience. So it's very difficult for me to say, I regret that I did this, or I regret that I did that. Yeah, I don't think I have regrets as such.
Well, let's put it like this. If you had to go back, is there anything differently that you would do, knowing what you know now and looking back, or is there anything you would change?
No. I truly look back with enjoyment of everything that I experienced. I'm extremely grateful for what life has been taking me through. Yeah.
Allan, did you have any low points in your career where you maybe thought about stopping or quitting, or was there some sort of like really dark time and you know, you managed to pull through? And if so, what, I mean, clearly it happened. What motivated you, or what made you want to continue?
I think everybody has dark moments, and I think it's constantly through your career that you are struggling, that you are trying to beat the demons. And but there was definitely a point in my career where I would say I really hit rock bottom, and it was around my retirement, and I started to experiment with drugs, and that took the better half of me within months, I would say. So I was very, very addicted to cocaine, and actually had a big say in my retirement. I knew if I didn't retire, I would die. And so when I retired, I moved back to Denmark to go into rehab. And I went into rehab for some months. And it took me 5 years to become clean. When I say that, it was, I got clean, had a relapse, got clean, had a relapse, got clean, and that carried on for quite some time. 5 years it took me before I was actually getting a grip on it. And this has been constant work for me. To be an addict, whether you are clean or active, you are an addict, and it's kind of let's say it's like a disease, like diabetes. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain, and it's like an allergy, if you want. And I'm allergic to all mind-altering substances. That's how I look at it. I cannot take any mind-altering substances, because if I do, I won't be able to stop. And that's actually the essence of addiction. If you are an addict, you have no control over mind-altering substances. So that's why I don't drink, and I have to stay away from all mind-altering substances. As I said, this is constant work. I know if I don't keep myself spiritually healthy, if I don't go to the program that living the program that I'm in, then I will fall back. That is for sure, that is guaranteed. And so this is a constant work for the rest of my life. But the good thing is, this program that I'm following is it's basically AA and the 12-step program. And the good thing about it is it's actually a program for life. And it's very much, it's like a spiritual program, and it very much works on you as a person to better yourself. And as I said earlier, I'm very attracted to that. So that is actually, that together with my search for being real, authentic, and honest, those are the two things that have saved my life, actually. I'm a very obsessive person, and with that, I can definitely see that that is a big part of my addiction disease. Yeah.
But basically, I mean, what you're saying, you've actually changed for the better as a person because of it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe this is one of the biggest highlights of my life, is to become clean. Because if I wouldn't, I would have been dead. There's no question about it. So obviously that has to be my biggest achievement in life. So there you got it. Now you got the answer for it. Yeah, definitely.
So Allan, would you call yourself religious or spiritual?
Oh, definitely spiritual. I believe in a higher power. I have no idea what that is. It could be just the fact of love. That could be my higher power, of goodness, of kindness, I don't believe it's the gray man or the man with the gray beard on the cloud. It's not up to me to find out exactly what it is. I'm okay with not knowing what that higher power is, but I know it's bigger than me. I know I am not the director of the show anymore. I used to think so. I used to think that everything was down to me. Anything good, it was because of me. Everything bad, it was also because of me. So I had a big weight on my shoulder. Now, I have many times in my life where I handed over to a bigger power or higher power. And that is kind of a big relief. So I definitely think I'm more spiritual than religious as such. I would say the only, or the religion that I could sway more to is Buddhism. The program that I'm following is very much based on the same principles of trying to get out of yourself and focus more on give than get, and always try to look at what's my part in it and not point fingers at everybody else. But when there's some conflict or some problems, then I always try to look at where's my part of this and what can I do better here.
So Allan, is there a philosophy that you live your life by?
Yeah, I think it's truth. The truth is the most powerful thing that we can ever have. Truth hurts sometimes, but to be as true to yourself as possible, to be honest, and to be kind and loving. That is probably what the biggest things that I go by.
What makes you happy in life?
To be inspired. I think to be inspired is the highest you can achieve, especially as a dancer, but also in real life. If I wake up inspired, I will have a good day. And when I look back, when I don't have a good day, it's usually because I'm not inspired. So for me, inspired is an ingredient that it's very important to try and have or have in your life. And then as you grow older, you start to find some tools how to inspire yourself. And that could be whatever you surround you with. For example, people you surround. I try very much. I'm in a place in my life where I'm trying to sort out who is it I want to surround myself with. And I want to surround myself with loving and caring people who is, I wouldn't say always positive, because I think it's also okay to be negative and to have a bad day. But I try to not have toxic people in my life. That's the best way I can describe it. I try to stay away as much as I can from that, because I know that reflects in me, or what do you call it?
Affects you.
It has a big impact on me, and affects me. Yeah, affects me, exactly.
Allan, what would your closest friends say about you? The people that know you the most?
I don't know. Let's see. If there's any, no, they don't say it. I don't know what people would say about me. I'm up for suggestions.
Yeah, guys, remember, any questions, I've been getting a few, are more than welcome, and we'll ask Allan.
Novelle is saying I am inspiring, so that's nice.
It is.
And Melanie says, honest and funny as hell. I don't think I'm funny. But you know what? Melanie is funny. And that brings out the funny side of me. So we are having such a laugh. I often say to her, I think we should record our messages or our conversations that we have on FaceTime and then put them on FaceTime. But she doesn't quite agree with that, because it's always when I'm naked and my stomach is hanging out, and she's of course in her bra, so she's not so keen on that. But I think it would be great entertainment for people.
Well, Vivica says that you're a true friend that can be a big pain in the ass, but she would not live without.
Okay, let's just let especially the last few words, they're the best.
So Allan, what would you say, or who would you say have been some of your major influences in your career? Like people you've looked up to, aspired to, learned the most from, been inspired by? Who has shaped and molded you the most into what you are today?
Well, I already said Tony and Melanie, of course, was a big impact for, they opened up a world that Vivica and I was searching for. It was kind of like we were searching for this Latino inspiration, and we got here, and Tony and Melanie opened the door and said, here you are. You know, so that was a huge impact in my life and in our career. As a teacher, we started off with Espen, and Espen was an amazing teacher, coach, educator, friend, but most of all, he gave us such a belief in ourselves. And he was very clever at, how can I say, producing a product that was based on enhancing our qualities and what we were good at. I believe you meet the people in your life that you need. And sometimes through searching, as I say, if you search for something, you will find. In our career, after a few years with Espen, Vivica and I felt we wanted to, or we would like to know more about the basic fundamentals. So we started with, actually, we went to Peter Maxwell and had a talk with him, and he said he wasn't really interested to work with us, but he would suggest that we would go to Walter Laird. So we took his advice and went to Walter Laird, and this was a blessing in the sky because it was exactly what we were searching for. When I hear, a lot of people have gone to Walter Laird, and when I hear other people's experience, I'm like, really? Did he say that to you? I heard it differently. And this was the greatest thing about Wally, that we would probably go in and hear the same thing, all of us, but we heard it with different ears. So we would come out of that studio with a different interpretation, which then created extreme different personalities. We have to remember at that time, Wally did not get up and show us how it should look. He didn't pull out an iPad and showed us how it would look. He gave us tools. And with those tools, we were to build the castle. And it was up to our imagination to then figure out what he was talking about and create that picture. So our experience with Wally was, I don't know why, but it seemed to me like he sat us down. The first 20 lessons, I don't think we danced. He sat us down, Vivica on his lap, and we next to him. And then he explained us the music. Every dance, all the 5 dances in details, how many beats in a bar. I remember coming in and he would say, how many beats in a bar? And where's the accent? And he would take his little notebook out and he would write down, explaining us the rhythm groups, different rhythm groups, and really take it from the beginning. And I don't know, when I speak to others, they say they had a much higher level of education. Maybe Wally thought, okay, these two, I have to start from the beginning. At that time, not many amateurs took lessons with Wally, actually. It was mainly professionals. So that maybe also be a reason. I don't know, but I feel extremely fortunate today that he took the time and started with us from scratch. So that had a huge impact on our dancing. And actually, I would say now as an educator, I use a lot of his. That's the fundamentals of my teaching. That's where I base my teaching from, all the information and knowledge and encouragement that I have from Wally. I would say is the fundament of my teaching today.
What was he like as a teacher, Wally?
I would call him, he was an educator, because you would come in, if you had a 10 o'clock, you could walk in the door at 10 o'clock, he was always on time, and when your lesson was up, 10:45, your lesson was up. And that was what you got. You did not go out for dinner with him, or at least we didn't. You did not speak to him when you saw him in a competition. He was an educator. You went in, you had your lesson, and that was what you got. And I kind of like that. There was no relationship as such. At least we didn't have that. And that had created a certain respect around it. But when you had him, he was the most loving and caring, funny, extremely intelligent, and very clever person.
So from what you've spoken and from what I understand about you and your teaching, music is a big part of it, right?
Yes.
So, and this is a question that somebody sent in. One of your favorite topics is music in a lecture. Did you ever try to learn any musical instrument? And if yes, please tell the story. If not, is it necessary to study music at least a little, like playing the piano or guitar, etc., or knowing basic musical notes to understand better?
I never played an instrument, no. I never studied music as in being able to play an instrument, or being able to read notes. But I do think that it would be an extreme benefit if you are able to do. I believe dancing, first and foremost, is about expressing the music with your body. That is, if I would put dancing into Wikipedia and analyze what is dancing, the first thing that is necessary to understand is it's about transforming sound into vision and using your body as a tool. So expressing the music with your body is what I call dance. So obviously, it's the better you want to be as a dancer, the more you have to understand the music. And because when you understand the music, you start to hear more. Like I always say, if I play a cha-cha, my mom can hear it, but I hear much, much more, and because I understand much more what this cha-cha is about than she would. And obviously, the more sensitive you are in your ear to hear the music, the better you will understand how to express it. Then the next layer comes then to understand your body and be able to use your body as a tool to create that music. But that's why I'm so passionate about music, actually. And again, this was what Wally, for years, made me understand how important it is to first understand the music.
So then, sorry, you continue?
No, I was just thinking if I answered the question, as you said, would it be necessary? I don't think it's necessary for a dancer, but I think it would be definitely a bonus to be able to play music as well, an added bonus.
So Allan, what is it to be musical in dancing? Because the word gets thrown out a lot, rhythmicality, musicality, to be musical, to listen to the music. What does this actually mean? Because I think a lot of people throw this word around and they don't actually know what they're saying or what they're talking about. I think it's very loosely used and it's very general. Yeah. So can you pinpoint what it means to you?
Actually, I truly started to understand that when I retired and I had to judge. All of a sudden, you instead of being in the body when you're trying to do it, you are outside and have to see it and understand it. And I think the most important is that if I stand and look at you dancing, I should feel that music. In other words, if I was deaf and I couldn't hear the music, I should be able to see and feel that music that you are expressing to me. That's why I don't think it's just about maximum action. The more action you can do, the more movement you can do, that's not necessarily musical or rhythmical. I have to feel that music when I watch you. So if it's not related, if it's not interpreting what you're hearing, if it's not connected to the music, if it's not heartfelt, then I don't think it's musical. So this is the danger. If you are a dancer and you're trying to explore your movement and learn technique and learn mechanics, and you forget the aspect of trying to connect your soul and heart to the music, then it just becomes movement because it's not really related. You can be in time of the music and you can do a tremendous action, but if it's not connected and related and you're not feeling the music yourself, there's no way in hell that other people are going to feel that. And then that's where I put the biggest difference between whether it's musical or not.
So is musicality to be musical?
I'm not sure if I understand that question.
Or is there a difference between being musical and having musicality?
I think if you have musicality in your body, you will be musical.
Okay.
So maybe I don't understand the English word, the difference in the English word, but to me it's pretty much the same. Or they are very related.
Mm-hmm. So Allan, what is your vision in Latin American dancing?
Wow. How much time do we have?
Much as you want.
For me, definitely, I have to feel the music. You know, again, where I said when I'm a judge and I look over the floor, I'm attracted to something that makes me feel the music. It's not about whether you straighten your leg or you go heel or toe or you have maximum. It's about, do I feel that music that I'm hearing, and I see the movement and it's totally making sense. That I'm attracted to. So I think that is definitely big part of my vision. For me, Latin is a culture, and within that culture, obviously the music comes from the cultures. They are the one who invented it, and there's a reason for them inventing that exact sound. So if you go really deep, the culture is to be found in a cha-cha, in a rumba. By going, Vivica and I went backpacking in 93, I think it was, or 94, and to explore mainly the music and the culture in Latin. And I found out that a big deal or a big thing about the Latin culture is man wants woman, woman maybe wants man. That whole play and that whole, which also Wally had talked about, the cock and the hen, you know, and that was what we experienced during that trip, to see how extreme opposite those two sexes was, what the man was about, what the woman was about. I remember walking down the street in Puerto Rico, and these bars out on the street, the women would be sitting at the bars on these bar stools in their far too short shorts, with their bum facing the road. and the guys driving by in their roofless or topless cars, arms out and whistling to the girls sitting there, and they loved it, and they were totally aware of being checked out. That whole game, you know, made me see that that was a big reason for Latin American dancing. Man wants to impress woman. Woman loves to be impressed. And the way the man impresses the lady is with his skills of making her feel good and making her feel taken care of and appreciated. And that makes her feel woman, and that makes the man feel man. And this very old-fashioned male-female pattern is to be found in the Latin culture. So I think that has a big impact on my vision of dance. The music, the Latin rhythms being totally heartfelt, and the man-woman pattern involved in there as well. Yeah, that would be the two most biggest things of my vision.
So leading on to that, a lot of people want to know what your secret is. The fact that all the women that you danced with in your career looked extremely sexy, feminine, sensual, beautiful, fierce. What is the secret, if any? Did you allow them certain freedoms or specific conditions? Was it some suggestions or tips or teaching, or was this at all intentional, or was it just magic?
No, definitely. I would not say magic. I think looking back, what was interesting was, and I was fortunate enough to dance with 3 fabulous girls, all in their own rights. Vivica, Carmen, and Serena, completely different women. But yet, if you look at the partnerships, they all represented the same base of dance, if you want. Every partnership was completely different, but they all included, I would say, a Latin feel, man-woman, and sincere and honest and real. So what I would call an authentic package. But what I try to do is always look at the girl that I was dancing with and what is great about this dancer. And when you try to enhance the personality of the woman, I think that's when it starts to bloom and becomes real. I did not try to clone Carmen to look like Vivica or Serena to look like Carmen. I tried to say, what's the reason I would like to dance with this lady? Why did I pick her? Why did I pick her? Why did I want to dance with her? And then look at these things and try to enhance these assets that this lady dancer had. I also think that it's because of principles that I very much learned from my teachers, and these tools and principles allowed, not to clone a certain picture, but allow the personality and individuality to come out. So because I'm a strong believer in lead and follow, I took my place as a dancer, as a male dancer, and allowing the woman to have her place as a female dancer. And I think that is the closest that I can explain to what, if you want, the secret was.
Allan, is it possible, in your opinion, for 2 superstars to dance together and be very successful, or is there always going to be a star and a supporting role in a successful partnership?
It's funny you ask that question, because I was actually thinking about that the other day. I think you have to have a partnership with 2 stars in order to be successful today. Yes, it's true, in the past there has been successful partnership where you could say there was mainly one that was shining and the other one was more the supporting act. I don't think that works anymore. Today, we are seeing dancing on such a high level. It is incredible what is demanded from the couples today, what they have to be able to do. And I definitely think you have to have an equally talented and very well-matched couple in order to really reach the top and be extremely successful. And that's why it's tough, because when you have two equally talented individuals, artists, it's bound to be a bumpy ride, because they're both very, very passionate usually and very clear in their vision of how it should be. And that's more of a miracle if that's exactly the same. It will always be contradicting, but yet if they can find out how to inspire each other and pull the best out of each other and come to some kind of an agreement, that is where we start to see a beautiful product, because they are balancing each other out that way and getting the best out of each other. So that's where teamwork comes in and is necessary as well.
Is technique timeless, or can it change and adapt with the times?
I always say technique for me are tools. Technique are principles. There's a difference between technique and mechanics. Mechanics is more how your body functions and learning about your body, in my mind. Where technique is principles, rules, tools that should help you to build the castle, to achieve what you're trying to do. And there can be many techniques. There's not one right technique and one wrong technique in my mind. Dance is art. It cannot be wrong. It cannot be right. Dancing for me is art, so there can be better or worse. So I look at technique the same way. If you come into me for a lesson and you say, Allan, I can't spin, I will give you my tools, my technique, to hopefully help you execute your spins better. If you're still falling over when you walk out of my lesson, obviously my technique didn't work for you. So you go to another teacher, he gives you a different technique, and now you can spin. Obviously that technique is better for you. That doesn't mean that his technique is right and my technique is wrong, but that just seemed to help you, that principle. So that's how I would like to look at technique. This is where I find Wally was a genius, because he had a great understanding of the basic principles. And when I say principles, it's things that you cannot change. It's gravity. If I drop my phone, we all know that it's going to go down. That's a principle. He had a great understanding of the basic principles of dance. He watched dancers over a period of time, and he wrote down very limited or basic, the most basic way, what the people did when they looked the best. It's funny because I remember one lesson I went into him and I questioned him. I can't remember the question, but I remember it made him very angry. And he was yelling at me saying, technique is not a Bible. I only wrote down what the majority of people did when they looked the best. Hopefully, this is not it. Hopefully, in the future, this will be developed. So it just made me clear that, you know, this is a guideline, a very basic way that is hopefully is going to help me understand the basic tools. And it's for me to keep developing that without sacrificing or destroying or changing the basic fundamentals.
Allan, how do you define success?
Mm. I think the first thing that comes to me is like, you know, in your heart when you're happy, if you reach a point of happiness in regards to your goals, I would think you're very successful. Success is when it's for you to determine, when am I successful? I don't think there's a guideline, a little handbook you can write, you can look up in and say, now I'm successful when I achieved that and that and that. I think it has a lot to do with happiness, inner happiness, when you're content. And it's very important to understand that content is not an end line. You have many layers of being content. So you can reach your first layer and say, now I'm content with that. But as we also know, as I'm a seeker for growth, that as soon as you reach that level, you already have your next level or goal you want. So it's very important to realize these steps as you go through life, that actually looking back, I reached that goal, I reached that goal, and reached that goal. So in that sense, I'm very successful. And not only look forward and say, I never reached my goal, because every time I have a goal, I have a next goal. Then you would feel very unsuccessful. So, but I think it has a lot to do with your own inner happiness.
So Allan, what is your definition of sexy? That's the first question. And then what do you find sexy in a man? And what do you find sexy in a woman?
My definition of sexy is the mind. My definition of a sexy man, the mind. For a woman, the mind. I think it's what you think, what's in here that makes you sexy, for me.
Interesting. What would you say your strengths and weaknesses are as a person?
My strength. I never give up. I hate giving up. There's this competitiveness in me that I pursue things, you know, like I find it very hard to let go. And I have a drive in that, you know, and I constantly, again, I say the same thing, but I constantly search for growth. So if I have my eyes set on something, I really want to achieve certain things. Yeah, I would say that's probably one of my strengths that I could think of right now. My weakness, which one of them should I pick? Actually, and that can contradict a little bit also my strengths. So it's a little bit of a battle, but I think sometimes that could also be that I'm lazy and a lack of following through. I'm a very spontaneous person, and I need to be in the moment. And many times I would have ideas of project, and I would be like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And I think it's brilliant. Yeah, and then the next day I would wake up and feel different. I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? This is never going to work. How stupid could I be, you know? And that's where that's where many times Vivica has been a great partner for me, because that's where she would then pick up and say, actually, stick with it now and do it. And it's that little encouragement I suddenly realized that I actually need. So yeah, I would say that's only one of the weaknesses. There's many, obviously, like I said, that I try to work on and improve to become a better person. I would say one of my, go ahead.
Yeah, go on. No, you go on.
Okay. One of my weaknesses also, I'm probably sometimes can be a little bit too open, not private enough, say what I think. And it can be a strength, but it can also be a weakness. Sometimes I can get in trouble because I say things that I shouldn't have said to people. I can either hurt people or I can say things where these things should not have been said out loud. So that I'm working on still.
Allan, is there something that people would be surprised to learn about you? Something that people don't know about you?
I don't know. I think everybody in my friends, they know different things about me. I don't know. I don't know that question. I feel, like I said, I'm pretty open. I have no secrets. For sure, one person in this world would know that thing about me. Another person would know that thing about me. So in general, everybody knows everything about me. Not everyone knows everything about me, but how can I say? Different people know different things about me.
Yeah.
But it's all out in the open.
If you had an autobiography, what would the name be of your life?
Be real.
Nice.
The real thing.
What age were you your happiest?
Ooh. Happiness is a constant wave, you know? And I could say right now, I'm the most happy that I've ever been. I think it's very important to live in the moment. And right now, I am doing exactly what I want to do today. So that makes me the most happy. But I've been living my life like that. So when have I been the most happy? And how do we measure happiness? Is it to be on a high, or is it to be content? Is it to be at peace? What is happiness? So it's huge. It's a simple little question that for me is very, very big. But I would say I'm in constant search. That's my phone. Let me just unplug it. I would say it's a constant search for happiness and fulfillment. I think we all search for that, and comes and goes. But I truly feel that I'm doing what I want and try to stay true to myself, listen to myself, and have room for spontaneity and do what I feel at that moment. I feel very fortunate and grateful right now.
So Allan, if I walked into a studio and I saw you teaching a lesson, what would I see and what would I hear?
I'm laughing because the people who have lessons with me, they know the answer. I'm waiting for it to come up right here. But I'm not going to say that. In terms of fundamentals, I think that's what you mean, right? Not characteristics.
No, I mean, it could be anything. What would a person hear or see you doing during a lesson?
Well, I'm a very moody person, so you never know what you get. So one day I could be full of energy and super inspired and very happy, and the next day it's like, okay, what do you want? So I think that's kind of also why people book lessons with me. It's kind of a roller coaster. They like, let's see what we get today. But in terms of dancing, obviously, I'm very passionate about music. I try to educate people more than coach them, actually. So I would say, okay, who are you? What level are you at? and how can I help you right now, and interview you if you want, to find out where is it that I could make a difference and educate you, where's the gaps. But usually it's definitely about learning the music and understanding that dancing is expressing the music with your body. And number two, I would say partnering, lead and follow, dig into getting the understanding what is the essence of a lead and what is the essence of follow. I think those are the two main things that I would start with.
So the follow-on question to that is, what sets you apart as a teacher or a coach? What do you feel is your thing? What are you about in terms of the teaching?
I'd say that's the same question. That's very similar answer.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think everybody is different because every person in this world is unique. You won't get the same lesson from two different people. So everybody, the better you get as a teacher, the more you understand how to include your personality within that delivery of the message. So not every student is for every teacher. Every student will find the one that matches, first of all, the content of what the student is looking for. Can the teacher give me that? But also there has to be a chemistry, because it's about understanding, isn't it? It's about getting into that person's mind and getting them to get that aha moment. So yeah, I would say in fundamentals or in technique, in principles, I would say music and partnering is the two things that I'm the most passionate about.
So follow-on question to that, and this was from somebody that wrote in, as a judge, are you only judging what you teach, or are you marking what you teach?
No, I try to forget myself as a teacher. I understand that in my career, I've had 4 jobs, or 4 hats, if you want. First, you have to understand what your job is as a dancer. And I believe that is to give. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit brain fart. As a dancer, your job is to do it, whatever that is, to do. Then you have to learn when you are an audience, a spectator. And that is to enjoy. It's your job. If you buy a ticket in Winter Garden to watch Blackpool, it's your job to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, you wasted your money. And number 3, as a teacher, your job is to give. And this is where I think it's different, very clear. When I was a dancer, I thought always I had to give and I have to enjoy. No, actually give is the teacher's job and enjoy is the audience job. I think the dancer's job is to actually be busy doing it. And hopefully you will give something through that. As a judge, my job is first to recognize, understand what I see, and receive, then to compare, and then to choose. So I try every time I judge to make sure that I'm honest to myself, which is very, very hard. But I've done some judging job where I couldn't sleep the next evening after that because I didn't feel good in what I've done. And I don't want to be that. I want to be able to sleep good when I've judged. And that I know I've done my job when I have a good night's sleep afterwards. And you know what I mean by that, right? Yeah. So I go with the rule, if a dancer on the floor keeps drawing my attention and I can't take my eyes off it, even if they're not doing my technique, even if perhaps they're not doing what I would normally go for, but I find myself attracted to it again and again and again, I think that's a good indicator for I have to mark it. If I'm touched, if I'm moved, if I feel something when I watch them, then it's also a good indicator to what. And sometimes you actually judge and nothing attracts your attention and nothing touches you, and you're kind of numb and you're just watching all this and you're not that impressed, if you want. Then of course you go in your rule book and say, well, what is the most important? And I have very clear, music for me is number one, beauty, picture, the visual, aesthetic look, cosmetic look is very important, number two, partnering, number three, and the energetic power speed, number four. And not to be fooled with the impressiveness of power and speed, I make sure that that is actually not the most important. So that's the guideline I go for very much when I judge. In my heart, I wish the partnering was number two, but I've analyzed down to it that the cosmetic thing of looking beautiful has a big, big value when it comes to competition dancing, because it's what, again, attracts the eye. So I would say number 2 and 3 is very close, runners up, but definitely music first.
Allan, do you have a funny story about your worst day of teaching or the worst lesson you ever taught?
No, but I know very well what a bad teaching day means, or a bad lesson means. If I don't feel that I got through to the student, if I don't feel that I'm worth the money that I charge this couple, if I don't feel that I have given them enough, then I'm not happy. I need to feel that I actually did my job in opening their mind, in giving them some information, in giving them some knowledge. That is unfortunately not always possible for many, many different reasons. You cannot give the best lessons every day. And the fact that you accept that makes me also understand that my chance of giving a good lesson is better. The pressure of having, because when I just retired and in the early days of learning how to teach, I really wanted to give the best lesson ever, and it never happened when you force yourself and you want to give so much. So you have to kind of let that settle a little bit, but I definitely strive to give the best I can give in every lesson as possible.
So Allan, clearly you are an artistic person and an artist. I mean, one can tell just from talking to you and just by seeing your product on the dance floor and, you know, your living room and whatnot. So as a competitor, you know, doing competitions as an artist as you are, why would you enter a competition that you knew that you couldn't win? Don't you think that there's something fundamentally wrong about or interesting about what we do as artists when you're entering a competition, but you know there's no chance of winning? In theory, there is a chance, but in reality, probably not, because of the way that the dance will work. So don't you think that that is something fundamentally, there's an issue with that? Or how do you...
I'm not sure if I'm getting your question right.
So I'm saying, as an artistic person who believes in the beauty and the art and the music, you put yourself in a competitive situation, right, where you need to beat somebody.
Yeah.
But of course, the way that the dance world works, there's a line, or there's a cue, or there's form, or there's the final, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So why would somebody enter a competition, let's say their result is always in the 24, knowing that they're not going to be in first place? Because normally when you do sports, you would play to win, right? Whether it's a football match or it's a gymnastics competition, let's say, you know?
Yeah.
So you would approach the competition.
I think I understand. First of all, you're right. In dancing, there is no such thing as a finishing line, and we can say that's clearly the winner. It's a matter of people's opinion, objective, right? So,
yes.
So I have a great trust in our industry, because in my experience, I've learned that to become a champion, you need to go through an education, if you want. And a big part of that education is not only to take lessons and get more information and be able to execute. It's actually doing competition and putting yourself to the test of comparison. And I always say dance education is the best education for life. I believe that if you are lucky enough to become a champion, let's say a world champion, you are actually, your chances for having become a better person is great. You become a better human being by going through that test, if you want, of becoming a champion. You're right, in essence, we can't compare art. But because we have this system as we have in the industry, I find that you are being fine-tuned because you have to appeal to the majority of people. And don't forget, it's not only the 12 judges who decide who should win. It's definitely also the audience. The audience have a great impact on the judging panel. Maybe not on that day, but if you are extremely successful by the audience and have a standing ovation from the first round, I believe that maybe your result in the next competition will be better because everybody couldn't stop talking about you after Blackpool, let's say. So your next competition, and I've seen that happen time and time over. So the audience has a great impact on the result as well. So I believe you should always aim for improvement to, or you want to appeal to the majority of people. That is actually more important than your own, no, actually, let me rephrase that. It's not important than your own vision. Your own vision is number one, but then you fine tune it and adjust it as to you want to appeal to the majority of people. So in that sense, I do think we can trust the industry to find the champion in the end. And when I say champion, you could also be a runners-up and still be a champion in my mind and in your own mind. Even if I never won the world championship as professional, I feel extremely successful and have fulfilled my own dreams and goals greatly, even if I haven't got the trophy. And so there's many ways that you can get a sense of that fulfillment and for feeling the sense of success, even without actually getting the medal around your neck.
What's it like being a competition organizer?
I started my experience as a competition organizer about 6 years ago when I bought into the Empire Championship. And that has been a great learning process. Again, I enjoy tapping into new territories and try to learn skills that I never had before. And for sure, that fact of being an organizer was a completely untapped territory for me. And I had to learn a lot of stuff. I think I come to the conclusion that it's not me as a person. It's not where I find the biggest fulfillment artistically, if you want. I am more of an artist than an organizer, actually. But I truly have enjoyed that journey, and I've learned so many things that has been necessary for me also to understand the institution better and to become a better teacher even. So I find it a great challenge in one word.
Allan, we have a question from Camille. He says that, Allan, you always won the audience. What was your competition strategy? Was it external versus internal?
I think to win the audience, if that's your goal, you need to be authentic. You need to go out and dance from your heart, and you need to stay true to what you believe dancing is, which is very, very hard because we're being swayed from influences every day. But you need to be able to connect to people. And when I think authenticity is the greatest tool to connect to people. If you're real, no matter who you are, if you're real and you're being yourself and you're being authentic, there's a great chance that you're going to touch somebody and reach somebody's heart. And that's what it's about. When you want an audience, it's not about flashing or, I was going to say flashing yourself, but I could hear that came out wrong. It's not about being flashy and expressing yourself out to the audience and just give it to them. It's about actually doing something heartfelt, opening your heart and be real. And I think people smell that authenticity from miles away. And I always said, you could be dancing in a little dark corner. If you are real and authentic, everybody will be on the edge to try and see what you're doing. But if you're right in front of people and throwing it at them, it's kind of like not interesting.
What do you think is one of the biggest challenges for the dancers of today?
I have to say something really, really inappropriate now. I'm about to pee my pants. Can I take like 2 minutes and you talk to the people about something? Or wait, because it's up to here. Okay. I've been thinking about it for the last 5 minutes. I can't think about it anymore. I'll do it very quick.
All right, guys, keep the questions coming through. I think it's going pretty well. Allan's so interesting. There's a few more questions that I've got to ask him, but if you've got anything else, he says he can answer anything, so don't be shy, don't be scared. I'm just going to fill my glass of water.
Okay, I'm back.
Are we back?
I'm back.
That's the beauty about live, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
They're saying Peeve very classic. It doesn't get more
I
real
was
than
saying
that.
to my students myself, you can ignore it. You can ignore it. Just think of something else. But in the end, I didn't even hear your question because all I could think about was I need to pee.
So, Allan, the question was, what is one of the biggest challenges for the competitors of today?
Wow. It's difficult to say, but what I think, the two things, there's one, they're too, in order for me, they're too occupied by pleasing the establishment. And this is a great shame because for one thing for sure, talent is not lacking. I think there is much more talent than ever around today. Meaning, when I danced, there was maybe the top 12 people were, or top 24 max was like super talented. And then today, you can go to Blackpool and watch, and people who was thrown out in the first round are beautiful dancers. So I think there's much, much more talent today, for sure. So it's not talent lacking, but I think they are unfortunately too busy trying to please and the judges, the establishment, and maybe not staying true to themselves, even though they think so. And this is so hard, denial. When you're in denial, obviously you can't see it because you're in denial. So only afterwards, when you get that realization, you think, oh my God, now I can see that I was too busy trying to please people. I think that's one of the things that I would say is I wish, and maybe because, again, when we danced, we would have a handful of teachers max. And today, a lot of the competitors, they go to have too many opinions, and that removes you from your own self. When you get too much different information and influence, it can be very hard to stay true to yourself. And what was it actually I signed up for? Why do I love to dance? And what is it that I want to get up here? Yeah, that's the thing that comes to my mind first. I forgot the other thing now.
So, Allan, just before I continue with my questions, there's a couple of questions from people, tuning in. And one of the ladies, Aida, she's a pro-am dancer. She's asking, should you stick with the same competitions year after year or open yourself to different ones?
There's an ocean of competition, especially for whether pro-am or professional or amateur. There's an ocean, or have been an ocean of competition choice today. So you have to select which one to do. I think it's very individual, but for sure, dance the competition that you enjoy to dance. That would be my rule number one. And if you know that there's one competition you absolutely love, keep dancing that competition. But there's no hurt in trying new venues. So in the end of the day, it comes down to your time and your budget and your energy, if you want, to how many competitions you want to enter. So I think it's very personal to find that level of satisfaction, of what you can afford or overcome, basically. Yeah, make sure that you enjoy the competition you are dancing. That's rule number one. Don't go and dance competition for any other reason. I would say go from your heart again.
There's a question from Christopher Ionut, and he's asking, who was the best partner for you and what was the couple strategy? I don't know if you...
I knew that was the best, my best partner?
Yeah, the best partner for you, he's asking. And what was the strategy?
I knew that question was going to come, and I was thinking, it's like asking a mom, who's your favorite child?
Exactly.
You know, and I always thought when people answer that question, who's your favorite child? And they say, I don't have a favorite. I was like, of course you do. You have a favorite on different aspects, I think. So, like I said, every partnership was unique and had different values. So it depends in what term we're talking. Are we talking which partnership stimulated me intellectually the most? Which partnership made me grow the most as a person? Which partnership did I physically enjoy the most? Which partnership did I feel the most successful in? So there's an ocean of different way to look at it. I would say shortly, Vivica, being my soulmate, we share the same heart. It's something unexplainable. She's the one who challenged me intellectually the most. And that gives me a great satisfaction and attraction to that relationship. Carmen was probably the most successful I felt ever. if you remember, we basically just went like that. And then we stopped, we split before we won, basically. I don't know if we would have won, but the feeling I had in my mind was nothing could stop us except from ourselves, and that's what we did. We stopped it ourselves. So I felt extremely successful with Carmen, and also when it came to jobs, we were very, very busy when we danced together. With Serena is probably the one that I had the most sensation physically to dance with. I remember when we had the tryout, I actually don't believe too much in tryout. I think you know already, I want to dance with her and that's it. But when I danced for the first time with Serena, tears started to roll down my cheeks because, I don't know, I just felt I was home. The way she touched me, the way she looked at me, the way she truly danced with me was an amazing experience. I remember our first Blackpool. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure on her because I was already successful with 2 other women. I was in the final of the pros with Vivica and with Carmen. And so if I would not make the final with Serena, everybody would turn around and think it's because of her. That was what was in her mind, you know. So there was a lot of pressure. And I remember we went out in the Blackpool, first round, had to do the qualifying, and I was ready to go. I was so excited. I thought, I got my Latin woman, I've got a new partnership, you know, really inspired. And I was totally out of it, right? And I remember we were going to start in Cuban breaks, and we were right in front of the short end there. And she knew that I wasn't dancing with her. I was out of my mind, thinking about performing like a wooden man, like really going. And she just stood, held my hand, and looked at me like, I'm not going to start until you dance with me, until you look at me. It was the most cool thing I ever, and she just brought me in like, whoom, to dance with her, you know. And this was so powerful. And that was actually the essence of Serena. She truly danced with you when she danced with you. I've only experienced that once before, and that was with Lorraine. But I find that Serena and Lorraine was very similar to that. That was a mind opener for me when she did that. And I really admire her for that, but just which woman could do that when you know that the pressure is on you to that extent? That if she fucks up, basically, then it could damage both our careers, you know. It's like, and she's like, first of all, dance with me, and then we'll see how we do. I thought that was pretty cool.
Very cool. So, Allan, one of the first times I ever saw you dance when I was in South Africa, because I'm South African and young, and we didn't have a lot of videos and access to anything, you know. And in '98, you danced the Worlds with Carmen, of course, in the final. And you wore your jacket, and yes, and us being over there and just starting dancing and whatnot, we didn't know a lot about anything, but obviously you picked your favorite couples, and you know, and you guys were one of the favorites, and I still remember thinking, wow, so masculine and interesting and feminine and kind of wild in a cool way, and it was very nice, you know, enjoyed watching it a lot. And I was quite surprised to learn after, a few years later, after moving to London and obviously, you know, dancing competitions and being in circles and stuff, that you were gay. So, I mean, obviously we coming from South Africa and didn't know anything. And then, you know, so my question is like, when I see you on the dance floor, it's extremely masculine and of course, man, woman, and all these things we've spoken about. But where do you draw that from? Or is it difficult, or how is it for a gay man to do that? Like, is it something you find natural? Is it something you intentionally try and do like in yourself, or is it just the way you are?
I think a mixture of all. How I see it is, I think as a male instinct, it's a very big wish to impress the lady. or to make the lady smile. Why? Because that gives me a sense of being a man. If you do a back basic and you see the woman go, wow, and you can see that you make her feel good, that makes me feel like I'm the man. And so that's very basic. And I spoke about it a little bit before with the Latino culture, and I learned that. And that is part of me. I have a wish to make the woman feel good. That's deep in me. And it's actually I am a quite selfish person, but when it comes to dancing, it's kind of like I leave that away because it's more important for me to make the woman feel and look good than to actually showcase myself. Because in my mind, the most masculine and most attractive I can see in a man is a man that has exactly that wish. The wish to make the woman shine, the wish to make the woman smile, the wish to make the woman feel good. That in itself made me think that man looks really masculine and sexy. Not because he's trying to flash himself or show off himself. That to me is actually not sexy at all. So the more occupied a man is in a woman's body, the more sexy he looks to me.
So I had a question which I was going to ask you at some point. Let's say that Vivica, Carmen, and Serena are out of the equation. But if you took them out of the equation and they're all wonderful and you're very successful. So my question was going to be, was there someone else that you could have seen yourself dancing with and having a great partnership, based on what you see and what you know and what, But Brigitte Elksner is asking on Facebook, what would be two great personalities, ladies, who you would love to dance a show with, except, of course, the partners you dance with? So it's very much a similar question. I was more relating to a career thing, competitive, and she's asking about shows, but you can answer as you wish.
Actually, with that question, I was thinking that myself. I have actually danced with all the women that I wanted to dance with. And first three, of course, Vivica, Carmen, and Serena. But as I retired, I was like, there's still a few people on my list. So I made sure that I got an opportunity to dance with these ladies. And one of them on the top of my list was Lorraine. And I actually did a lecture once at the UK where I performed with Lorraine. And this was like, for me, just for me, I don't know how it looked, or people hated it or loved it, whatever. But for me, it was such an honor to be able to dance with the great Lorraine and have that in your memory, And number two, gain a fair with it. I always wanted to feel like, what does it feel like to dance with her? And how is she gonna smile when she dances with me? So I did a lecture in Ischia once where I did a jive lecture, and Gaynor very kindly accepted to dance with me in that lecture. And this was also like mind-blowing for me. And that felt really good. And the last one was Barbara McCall. And you notice these are all, how can I say, women that was prior to me, a generation older than me. And it's kind of like you look up to these stars and you just, I wonder what it would feel like to dance with them. And yeah, Barbara McCall was a close friend of mine, of course, but at that time, we actually not so much when I competed, but it was more after retirement that I became friends with Barbara. And that's why we did this lecture in Ukraine. And that was also a dream come true when I was able to do a full-on rumba with her.
Nice. So there's a question from Josh in London, and part of it, I'm going to give you the first part, which is my question, then his. So what kind of crazy things have you done in your career, like extreme things or experiments on the dance floor? For instance, is it true that you dance Blackpool without shoes on? And did you dance a competition spontaneously, like with no choreography?
I never did that. I don't know why they keep coming up this Blackpool without shoes. Maybe I did. I never remember. I would have forgotten it by now. Then, no, I remember in Blackpool. I remember when I danced with Carmen, then I danced with a sleeveless vest, and that was at that time quite outrageous, if you want. But no, you're right. You remind me with no choreography. I remember one UK, and it was actually the first time we made the final as professional, Vivica and I. And you're standing behind the curtain there, waiting to walk down the stairs. And at that time, we've been to Puerto Rico. We were very influenced by the Latino style and lead and follow. And we were into dancing as much freestyle as possible. When I say freestyle, basically, we don't know which order the routine comes in, and we don't know what timing I will choose of that Cuban rock, or how many lock steps I will do, or I will let the music inspire me, and through my leading skills, hopefully get the message across. So we're standing behind that curtain and waiting to walk down the stairs. We're doing cha-cha. And I said to Vivica, okay, so I'm gonna do, and she just put the hands on my mouth and said, don't tell me what you're doing, you're defeating the whole purpose. Now, and then we were on. That was the last thing. And then we walked out. And I was thinking to myself, wow, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Because with that message, she gave me that confidence that I needed to deliver the perfect lead. She really made me feel that she trusted me 100%. Just do what you have in mind and don't tell me. And we walked out and we danced the freestyle. And I remember afterwards, Lorraine Barry, she came down to me and she for her, she said it was some of the best dancing she's ever seen. So at least we reached one person there. But more importantly, it was this goal we had in mind that we wanted to show that, and we fulfilled that dream. We had to go out and truly depend on partnering and lead and follow. So, and I know in my heart that was a special performance for us that day. Yeah.
Was that just at one competition, or did you do it again?
We always had a big amount of freestyle. Sometimes work better than others. I've seen videos now where I'm thinking, God, what are we doing? We look a mess. No structure whatsoever, and therefore not looking very competitive at all, not comparable to the others. Too social, I would say. But other times, it could definitely give an edge that I could see that other people didn't have by structuring more the performance, if you want. So I think, again, a happy balance, a good amount, the right amount is beneficial. I do believe in lead and follow, and I do believe that that's the way forward for our industry, to incorporate more lead and follow into the competition scene.
A question from Jess, Alan. She's asking or saying that trends have a huge impact on the dance industry, on dancers and results. What kind of trends have you seen in recent times? How are they changing, and what's your prediction for the future? Where are we going?
Well, I said many years ago, we're going into the technology era. And what I mean by that is everything is about efficiency, get it as quick as possible with minimum effort. Compare that to how we're living today, how fast life is today. Everything is instant. If I want to watch somebody online, I'll just click my iPad and I can get it right there. I can get whatever I want in a split second. Definitely different to when I was dancing. So that, I would say, from 2000, is starting to change. And of course, that has a reflection in the dancing. It's all about efficiency, power and speed seem to be priority number one. The efficiency, the perfect, no mistake, very athletic, very spotless performance. Everything focused very much on picture, lines, and effects. So you can ask yourself, what comes after the technology era? Now this is very interesting because I always say, my prediction, the feeling good era. And where everything is about, of course you want to maintain the efficiency and the instant look, instant gratification, instant achievement. But you don't want to neglect the experience of feeling the experience or getting the experience while you're getting there. And that has been lost a little bit in the technology area, where everything else was just about getting it. So I think that the feeling good era is coming after. So to me, it's no surprise that our higher power has given us this COVID, because this is exactly what's going to provocate us to enter into the feeling good era. Now you're actually stuck at home, alone. You have to face the wall or yourself. You have only yourself, and you're left to sit with your own self and your feeling and your emotion. And we're starting now to starve the social, the company of others. We're starving for actually getting a hug. We're starving for the experience, the feeling. So I think this is great news. I think hopefully this is what people is going to experience, that they're missing. And hopefully people are going to remember that and take that into also the dance industry in the future. So I would think that things like musicality, which is a feeling thing, and about experiencing, I have to feel something when I watch you dance, and partnering, about the communication between two people, is a feeling thing. I think these are going to have more value in the future because of the effect of what we're experiencing right now. So to me, it's not a surprise that we're going through this. I think this is necessary, and I think it's coming at a perfect time. And I think something really cool and good is going to come out of it.
Allan, what do you love about our dance business?
Family. I love that I'm so blessed. I feel so blessed that I have a family that's bigger than anyone's in the world. I have so many cousins and aunts and uncles and mothers and grandmothers and dads and kids. We're one big family, and we look out for each other. And I think it's very rare and unique to be blessed with that. And I think that's the best thing about our dance industry, that we have that sense of unity and family. I truly enjoy that.
And what is one of your big dislikes or something you hate about the dance business?
I don't hate. I don't believe in hate. I believe in love. The one thing that I like the least, it's difficult to say, that if you're not careful, you can be a bit pretentious in this world. And I don't like that. I'm all for being real. I'm all for being honest, and that's the thing that turns me off a bit when I see things getting too pretentious, and yeah, that's probably one of the things that I don't like so much about it.
So clearly, there's a lot of division at the moment in the dance world, and it's a bit of a mess. What would you, or how would you change things if you were in charge, or you had the job? What would you do to make things better?
So now the question that I asked Amy is coming back to me.
Yes.
Let's start again. That's probably what comes into my mind. You know, again, this COVID is a great chance to reset, and I think it will happen naturally. I think all of a sudden, when you go through, if we compare this with wartime, because we are at war with a biological enemy, if you want, that we cannot see, right? After wartime, people get together. It's when I look at history, it's kind of like when you are spoiled and your life is going great and you're getting what you want, we can become spoiled and very egocentric. And through bad times and hardship and struggle, all of a sudden, we start to experience unity and we become united. So my hope is that this is going to have an impact on the political scene of dance, that we will unite and we will have a better understanding of each other and connect again. So that's why I'm saying, let's start again. Let's start on this fresh. And actually, by resetting, we're also coming down to the basic. What is it all about? What is actually important here? And maybe setting the egos and the greed back a little bit behind us.
Allan, what's your favorite dance?
The 5 Latin dances.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Oh, the all 5. The 5.
The one I am the least attracted to would probably be samba. I love the Latin music. I love the Latin culture. I love to dance with a woman. So obviously all 5 is very attractive to me. But the one I'm the least attracted to out of the 5 would probably be samba. The one I enjoy the most when it comes to partnering, rumba. The character of the dance, paso.
Just hold on for a second, Allan.
Yeah.
I've got some guy cutting a tree down here. Hold on, I've got to move.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You know, you can't affect your neighbors, you know. There we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So yeah, you were saying about your favorite, and then my next question is going to be, do you have a least favorite?
Like the least favorite would be the samba, as I said. But each dance has its uniqueness. So I love them all.
If you had children, would you allow them to dance, or would you like them to dance?
Sure. It's difficult to say because when you do, how can I answer a question? I don't know. I never considered to have a child. I would think that I would want, if the child had any wish to do that, for sure, I will back it up. If not, I will never push, and it has to be for sure not.
Ricardo Puppy has a question. Are you pro for phrasing routines or not?
I always say, learn everything you can about phrasing. Learn what it is, what it means, how to apply it, try it, and then forget it. And by that I mean, it can be a great danger to your dancing if you're so obsessed with phrasing, because you actually are more concerned about staying in phrase than actually listening to music and expressing the music of each beat. So it can be almost an enemy to be too much a slave to the phrasing. But if you learn everything and you trained it and you applied it and you understand it, it will work without you even knowing in your dancing. You will always be dancing from a phrase point of view. So my short answer is learn everything you can about phrasing, apply it, and then forget it.
Double question. What would you like to see more of on the dance floor, and what would you like to see less of?
Authenticity, more authenticity, less fear. Less fear of fucking up, or less fear of not being successful, more hunger for exploring. I would love to see more honesty on the floor. Even when it goes wrong, show me. Why is it so terrible to be out there and show when it's not quite perfect? And actually use that imperfection artistically to your advantage. So that would be so exciting to see all these people making mistakes, laughing it off, and being able to continue using that mistake as a bonus instead of trying to cover it up. It never happened, and faking it again. So that would be the thing that I would be very thrilled as a spectator to see more honesty and sincerity on the floor.
So talking about authenticity, Novell is asking, do you think being authentic is also a process in itself? To explore what is authentic to you involves going through the process of search, trial and error, and refinement?
Oh, that's a Novell question. Okay, could we have the simplified version? Or I need to read it again.
Okay.
Or read it in your words.
Okay, so let me see. So she's asking, do you think that being authentic is a process?
Absolutely. I mean, if we talk about being authentic to yourself, right? If you want to be as much as you can be. Number one, be honest to yourself. So be honest when you're not being real. Is a big deal. And I think it's a journey, because you grow as a person, so you need to explore new aspects of yourself along the way. So I definitely think it's a process.
Allan, what is your pet peeve in dancing? So pet peeve is something that you really dislike.
I mean, we already talked a little bit about it, what I don't like so much, but you know, my pet peeve is probably when I see a widow on the floor. Now, what I mean by that is a woman who's totally been left alone and getting on with the job, doing her choreography with no attention from the man, no understanding from the man, and looking sad, like this artificial smile that is just, I'm so happy. That, you know, devastates me. It hurts my heart to see that, because I feel so sorry for that lady, that she is left on her own and she has a man who doesn't give a toss about her and doesn't even see her. And yeah, And her biggest wish is that he would actually dance with her. And you can see it a mile away. You can't fake a true smile from a woman. You can't. So that is probably my pet peeve.
Allan, is there one thing that you wish that you could change about yourself?
If there was, I would. And there's many. I constantly see new things that I don't like and I want to improve. You know, I realized when I'm really pissed with someone, or I'm like aggravated, or saying that person is bad or toxic or stupid, I realize it's probably because I see something in that person that I have myself.
Yeah.
And that I don't like about myself. So when you see that in somebody else, then you really dislike it, right? You reject it. So I think, again, it's very important that you're honest with yourself and you take a good look at yourself, especially when you resent someone. That resentment always, or not always, but many times have a place within yourself, and you need to look at yourself and then try to work on that.
What are your thoughts about online lessons, like Zoom lessons? And
well, I'm happy to say that also here I feel I've grown. As we started, I was very much reluctant with that idea, because I was thinking, look, if we're going to teach online, it is so superficial, not real. It's so like there's a screen between us. And the things that I truly enjoy teaching is very difficult to do online. But obviously, it's not a choice. I miss dancing terribly, and I want to teach. I enjoy to teach. I learn so much from teaching. It gives me so much passion and enjoyment. So, in doing it, I have now learned that I can teach other aspects of dance. No, that's maybe wrong. I would give the same lesson in a different way, because I have to give it in a different way. I have to do it through the screen. And also, I would say it makes me look at dancing in a different way, because you don't have that emotional feel that doesn't go through the screen. You're more seeing the lines and the picture, and not so much the feel. So I feel there's a great challenge for me to learn new aspects of dance as well. So I've been truly enjoying teaching online. I think it's a great challenge. I'm learning new things about myself, and I also learned how important all Wally's lessons have been, again, for me, because I'm able to teach through words and not just by showing it. And that comes very handy when you teach online, that you're able to express clearly in very few words what you mean.
Allan, we have an anonymous question that someone wants to ask you. How did you keep being yourself in a world where people are so opinionated, and how do you bring authenticity in an inauthentic dance world?
First of all, I think Danes have a reputation of being very opinionated. So it doesn't come foreign to me when I see other people being opinionated. Again, I have this competitive personality that I'm like, that see it as a challenge when people have their opinion and they think this. I'm like, okay, this is my job to now try and convince you otherwise. And I'm attracted to that challenge. So that has not been a bad thing for me when I have opinionated people. I just try to see if I can win them over. Or if I can learn something about their opinion that I haven't seen before, and start to consider, oh, actually, I didn't think that, but now when they're saying it, I can see it. So there's a great challenge of learning here. And how to stay authentic. in such a plastic world, that's what I hear from the question. Well, you can also turn around and say it's even easier, because you will shine like a bright light if you are just slightly authentic in this world where there's not so much authenticity. So try and look at it. My advice is try and look at it with a positive. If you are true to yourself and asking yourself, what is it I'm dancing? Why did I sign up for dancing? Well, that is the first and foremost important thing that I bring to the floor when I dance. That's what I mean by being true to yourself. If you are true to yourself, you are on the first step on the way to be authentic.
Allan, what do you think about ballroom?
I think it's obviously where it all started. I think it's a beautiful dance form. I realized that they're primarily trying to express melodic sounds, where we are trying to express rhythmical sounds. So all these sounds melodically appeal to the upper body, and it's more of a flotacious feel of music, where rhythm is more of the lower part of the body and a more grounded and earthy feel. I enjoy the difference of styles. My wish to the ballroom world would be that they somehow find a way to achieve more freedom. And don't ask me how that's going to be, because I'm not a ballroom specialist. But I do see that there's a tendency that development is going towards being more restricted. I think that's dangerous. I would think, and that's just from a Latin point of view, I would wish that there would be room for more freedom and spontaneity. Whether that's within the principles, I don't know, or if it's because different opinions and a very strong opinions battling against each other, I don't know. But I would love to see that, because I think that will attract even more clientele to that discipline.
What is your impressions or thoughts on American rhythm?
American rhythm, I did a write-up once when I first came to this country, and I pretty much have the same opinion as 10 years ago, actually 15 years ago, since I wrote this write-up. And I was describing how I had a vision, and then all of a sudden, an imagination, what rhythm would be like before I came. And then when I came here and saw it, I have to admit I was greatly disappointed. Because in my mind, it would be even more of what I explored and experienced in my search for the Latino roots. So that means I would think that the American style would be more authentic, more about partnering, more about musicality and rhythm, and not so obsessed with picture and line and posture. So bend knees, allow bend knees, getting into the rhythm and truly freestyling. Well, I kind of feel that it's the opposite. They're even more restricted in the discipline. They are very focused on picture, and it kind of sometimes could actually look like a bad copy of international style Latin. So yeah, I wish that it would focus, and I think it could be the inspiration and the guide or the leader for international style if they would go more raw and authentic, and show us the way to aspire to, instead of the other way around.
Allan, who is your role model in life?
I have many. It depends again on what. Because I don't think I have one role model that oh, do you mean like a person or a fantasized person?
Could be either. You can answer both.
So my fantasized person exists of many people that I've met that has impressed me. And that each of those individuals had something different to offer. I find the most interesting thing in the world is the human being, is personalities. I could sit down on the street and for a whole day and just watch people. I love to interact with people. In the Enneagram, they say I'm very high on the sexual energy, sexual instinct. That means the one-to-one connection. I really am attracted to that and enjoy that. And I enjoy very much to watch people's different personalities. And every time I meet a new personality, I try to grab what I can from that person and learn from that person the best assets and qualities. I'm very inspired by Vivica, obviously. I'm very inspired from my close friends. They all give me inspiration to how to live my life. I'm also very inspired to some enemies that I have, because I can still see their forces and their good sides.
Allan, what is your spirit animal?
Elephant.
Why is it an elephant?
I have no idea. I think I'm attracted to intelligence.
Yeah, and they're very intelligent creatures.
Yeah.
If you had a different career?
Well, maybe also I'm attracted to big things.
If you had chosen a different career path, not dancing, what would it be?
I have quite a few things actually. I love interior design. I love, obviously, hairdressing. I used to be a hairdresser. I love fashion, design. As a kid, I wanted to be a pilot. I love traveling. I have quite a few passionate things actually, of things that I'm passionate about.
What's your favorite travel destination?
It varies, and it depends on for what. I generally prefer warmer climates.
What is the hardest thing that you've ever had to do in your life?
To become clean.
If your life had a song title, what would it be?
There's a few. Let It Be, Let's Get Real, Let's Get Loud, This Is Me, This Is My Life, yeah, something like that.
Nice. If you had to have coffee with a historical figure, who would you choose?
That's a difficult one, I think. I would love to have a coffee with Wally again.
Nice.
I don't think he'll drink much coffee, but he'll have his flask with a lot of cognac in or brandy, and I'll take the espresso. But I would love to have a chat with him again.
And if you had to have dinner with a current celebrity, who would it be?
These are the questions I'm so bad at. Male or female?
Male.
I was only thinking about
female. Anything.
I don't know. Actually, I had a crush on George Michael.
Oh, wow.
So if he was still alive, I would love to have dinner with George Michael.
Allan, what's your favorite food?
Burger and pasta.
Your least favorite food?
I don't know what we call it in English, but it's gule ærter in Danish. It's yellow beans or something like that. Like you know, baked beans is very like with the sweet corn or the corn soup, whatever.
If you had to, in New York, we're in New York, and you want to go for a really nice dinner, where are we going?
There's so many places. I'll probably explore a new restaurant.
What's your favorite drink?
Espresso.
If you had to have a cocktail and you had to give it a name, going on you and your personality, what would it be?
Like a virgin.
What's your guilty pleasure in life?
X-rated.
What do you love on pizza?
Goat cheese.
What's the most exciting thing that's ever happened to you in your life?
Being born.
What's the most dangerous thing you've ever done in your life?
Experimenting with drugs.
What's the best way for you to decompress or unwind? What do you like to do?
That varies very much from being out in nature, if I can, taking a day off and allowing myself to do nothing, going for a massage, listening to music, watching a movie. It all depends. I have many things.
What can you describe to us? What would be your idea of the perfect weekend?
I said, actually, right now, as I'm single, I think it would be pretty perfect to go some exotic place on vacation, meet the most interesting man, and have dinner with him, and take it from there.
Have you ever had a near-death experience?
Several times.
Any story you want to share or not really?
I mean, yeah, absolutely, but it's all drug related.
Okay.
I nearly died 3 times of overdose. One of the times where actually my sister came to my mom's house where I was staying, and she took me to hospital. It was kind of very tragic, but funny tragic. I was so under the influence that I was actually doing foxtrot on the way up to the hospital, and they locked me into psychiatric ward. And eventually, as I was coming down, it was pretty close. So I was hospitalized for a little while. So this was not fun. And you know, the reason why I very much open about this, obviously, I'm an authentic person, as I say, but my hope is to help other addicts out there who might have same experience or go in that direction. And hopefully my message, by opening up and freely talking about it, being able to help others not do the same as what I did, you know, and be able to, or experience, tell the message out that there is actually a solution, and there is a hope, because it's a dreadful position or life to be in. So that's why I like to be open and share about it.
Allan, have you got any dreams that you have yet to accomplish?
right? I think my biggest dream is to live a long and healthy life. So that's yet to be accomplished.
Have you ever been arrested or put in jail?
Oh yeah.
What's the best advice you've ever received in life?
Ooh, offhand. The best advice is, let's keep it super, super short. Be kind.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your biggest fear in life?
Probably to relapse. You know, I really don't wish to do that. And I know how terrifying or how dangerous this disease of addiction is. So, of course, this for me, I put as my biggest fear. Even if it isn't, I put it there because I have to constantly be aware that it's there and never forget how it was and never forget the seriousness of this disease.
Allan, what's been your biggest learning curve or learning life lesson so far?
Same thing. To discover that I was an addict, to admit it, to come to terms with it, to do the work it took to become clean, and to do the work it takes to stay clean.
So we're almost done. I know I've taken a lot of your time, but it's been so interesting and everybody stayed on watching, so I think it's well worth the time.
Oh, good.
What is the weirdest thing about you?
Help, guys. What's the weirdest thing about me? Simone, help me. What's the weirdest thing? That's my ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
Years and years ago. Oh, he sends heart. Physically or mentally?
Both.
The weirdest thing about me, I think, physically is my legs. My knees are turned in and I'm bow-legged. So it's the worst pair of legs that you could ever wish for. And they look quite weird. The weirdest thing, I don't know what the weirdest thing about me is. Simone just say LOL. I think that's up for people to answer that question. I don't know what the weirdest thing is.
Okay, Allan.
I'm just weird, okay? Just weird.
Nothing wrong. If you had a genie and you rubbed the bottle and the genie
Melanie, sorry. Melanie is writing, you're not weird to me. So what does that tell you? She's weird too.
Yeah. So Allan, if you had a genie and you rubbed the bottle and the genie came out and he gave you 3 wishes right now, what would you ask for?
It's again a little bit about the dream, isn't it? What's your dream? God. I would definitely wish for a long and healthy life. You know, for me, that's everything. And then I would. It's more spiritual thing again. It's like I wish to be happy, because if you are happy, nothing else matters really. And then I'll be naughty on the 3rd wish and give me the most sexy, handsome, good-looking boyfriend who will stay with me forever and spoil me and just make me feel like, you know, all that.
If you could go back and give your 16-year-old self some advice, what would you say?
Obviously, it would be watch out for the disease of addiction. Treat people how you want to be treated. Look in the good in people. around those lines.
And if 20 years pass by and you have your older self, what would you currently now tell yourself in 20 years' time? If you have to shoot into the future, what would you be saying to yourself?
So if I met myself as a 70 years old.
No, yeah, like 80 years old, let's say.
80 years old.
Yeah, what would you tell yourself?
What, did you think I was 60 already?
No, I'm just giving you a random... It's got a Danish accent. I want it to be clear between 17 and 70.
Okay. So if I met Allan as an old grandpa,
yeah,
what would I say to him? I don't know. I'd probably say something like, "Man, you're looking good."
And then, Allan, we're almost done. So how are you really feeling these days?
Like I said, I feel, obviously, these days, as opposed to coronavirus, I have been, the first 2 months, I would say, I've been so shocked to meet myself, because I would have expected myself to be totally restless, totally bored, very nervous, not being able to cope very well, to be on my own all this time, totally on my own, in one confined space. I would go mental. But actually the opposite has happened. I have to say, I'm pretty proud of myself, because I've seen a side of me that I didn't know I had. I've been the most calm for a long time, very calm, no stress. I realized how all the stress was peeling off me, because I gave myself time and freedom to do what I want, and taught myself new skills, and used my time really well, I thought. Having said that, I did have 4 days last week where, and of course, who wouldn't? Of course, we're all challenged with time, but right now I'm feeling really, really good, and quite proud of myself in that sense, that I've seen a new side that I didn't know I had. So in that's how I feel right now.
Okay, and then so 2 more things. So this, I just want one-word answers from you, yeah? And you can say whatever you like, whatever you feel. I'll leave it up to you, okay?
Okay.
Vivica Toft.
Sorry, what did I have to say again?
You have to say one word that describes the person, or one word that you
think
of.
Go. Yeah.
So Vivica.
Just the first thing that comes to mind?
Yes.
Disciplinary.
Carmen.
Strict.
Serena.
Actually, rephrase Carmen to perfectionist.
Serena.
Strict perfectionist. Compassionate.
Espen.
Warm and cuddly.
Donnie.
Ambitious.
Lena.
Smiling.
Colin.
Friendly.
Wendy Johnson.
Cute.
Shirley Ballas.
A teacher, good teacher.
Peter Maxwell.
Artist.
Barbara McCall.
Crazy in a good sense. I love the word crazy. So crazy meaning wonderfully crazy.
Sammy Stofford.
Loud.
Klaus.
Not mysterious, but intrigued. I don't know how to say it. Yeah, mysterious is the best word I can think of right now.
Eugene Katzofer.
Ambitious.
And then to finish it off, one word to describe you.
Open book.
There we go. Well, thank you. Well, thank you, Allan. Honestly, I really, really appreciate your honesty and the rawness and the authenticity. It just felt like we were having a conversation, which is what I wanted, and I think you wanted kind of the same thing. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate the transparency, the openness, the honesty. I find it very inspiring just listening to you talk and about the trauma and some of the tragic things that happen to you and your troubles and stuff. And I think that dancers, non-dancers, anybody can be inspired by that, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and dancing is just a medium or a form where we express ourselves, but we still are human beings and, living our lives through many different outlets. So I'm sure anybody could be inspired by that or relate to it too. So I just want to say that I appreciate you taking the time out of your life and your day and whatnot just to share with us, because I think that's a very special and beautiful thing. So
thank you, Jay, and thank you so much for doing these shows. I've actually been following quite a few already, and like I said to you earlier, I think you're doing a terrific job. Obviously, I can also see that you are learning and getting better and better. I think you are like a natural at this, doing a great job, and I think it's something that I'll be looking forward to in the future, to follow your business.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very nice coming from someone like you. But honestly, the way this started was very spontaneous, and I just heard a lot of things out there and saw things. And for me, it's much more interesting, like I told you in private, to get to know someone on the personal side and an intimate side, because I think that's, really how you can connect with someone. And like we're talking about authenticity and not putting up these walls and being pretentious. And this is what so many people dislike about the dance world. So it's kind of nice to be able to show everybody that, wow, these people are really real with problems and issues and lives and, all these kinds of things. So that's, it's very, very appreciative for you to take the time to do that.
Sure.
And thank you to everybody for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. It's awesome that everybody's asking questions, and Vivica and Wendy and everybody's watching. So, I appreciate that on a personal note, and Melanie sending all the questions in and everybody. So yeah, it's been awesome in general. So just so everybody knows, if anybody missed it, it'll be on Allan's page and my page, so you can rewind and whatnot and check it all out. So I think I'm doing the next one on Tuesday with Graham Oswick, so that should be fun. Graham's a personality, so we'll see what he has to say.
He's a laugh.
What's that?
Yeah, he's a laugh, for
he's
sure.
He's a laugh, exactly. So anyway, once again, thank you so much, Allan. Really, really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you when things are normal, let's say.
Me too. Take care, Jay.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.